Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey Hugh, once again with another video on Superman Lois Season 4. So, yeah, we are almost at the 1 week mark. Oh no, we're almost at the 1 week mark. What am I talking about? I thought I was going to say we're almost at the premiere. No, we still got a week and a half. So we're almost at the 1 week mark until the return of Superman Lois for not just the 4th time, but the final time. Of course, on the premiere night of October 7th, we will have 2 episodes back to back. So be sure to remember that, whether you are watching live or after the fact, just so you know that episode 1 isn't it for the first week, there will be 2 episodes. Now, I think most of us assume that the first 2 episodes are back to back on the same night because they play off each other very well and are just served better being back to back on that same night. But, you know, of course, that is for us to wait and see specifically why that could be the case or is the case, but you'd have to think that's probably in the right area. But in this video, we have a few things to go over for some upcoming episodes, as well as the series finale, aka episode 10 of this 4th and final season. So some interesting stuff, and also a bit of like a thinking engine fuel, if you want to put it. But yeah, let's not waste any more time before we go over them. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts on the stuff we go over. I'm always curious to read what you guys are thinking and what your opinions are, whether they're similar or completely different to mine, whatever it is, let me know in the comments. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, want to show your support, got 2 seconds, leave a like. Takes 2 seconds. But the first thing to go over is some promo images for episode 2, so the second hour of the premiere night. We did get a bunch of promo images, like I think it was about a week and a half ago, roughly, I think it was. We weren't too sure if those images were just from episode 1 or the opening 2 episodes because they are airing the same night. But yeah, we have a separate drop of specific episode 2 photos, so we can assume that all those photos that were released previously were from just episode 1, which is interesting because there was a lot of different settings if you want to put it throughout those photos. But anyway, this second episode is called A World Without, which we already knew, but I just thought I'd mention it again. Obviously, that episode title hinting that this episode will highlight the impact of Superman's death and just lack of presence on probably not just the Kent family, but the world as a whole. But here is a reminder on the synopsis before we jump into the photos. Lana and Sarah join the fight against Luthor, who starts making moves in Smallville. Jordan and Jonathan butt heads over an important decision. But yeah, these photos here, they're very contained, and you understand when we go through all of them. But the first one you see here is Lois and Jonathan at the door. They're answering. Who's that? Well, it's Lana and Sarah, and they're coming over to visit. Obviously, this would most likely be after the news is spread that Superman has, well, you know, been killed. Of course, there's still a lot of talk around, like, people wondering about, like, you know, will they keep Superman's, like, because I guess if he's not, I wonder if, like, the world would know that Superman's dead, or if he's just not there, because obviously his death scene is going to be within Smallville and in the middle of the night when we know that the downtown Smallville area isn't going to be that full. So is it just that he's not there, or does the world know that he actually died, or does Luthor proclaim that Superman is dead? Like, we don't know. Of course, the fact that Clark Kent might be missing and stuff like that, or could be dead, I don't know if that's going to be brought up as well, or if it's just a very self-contained thing within, like, the main characters of the show that know Clark is Superman. But alongside, you know, Sarah and Lana coming over most likely to console the family about what's happened, we can see Jonathan here, and he looks a bit teed off, doesn't look too happy. And we know from the trailer for that they released, like, what was it, about a week and a half ago, a week ago, roughly, whatever it was, that this setting also has Jordan in the same room, and they're sitting on like opposite ends, and they're both staring at each other. So obviously the synopsis does say that Jordan and Jonathan butt heads over an important decision. This is most likely, I guess, following that. And there had been that scene in the first trailer we got where it was Jordan and Jonathan in what looked like to be what was under the barn, which I guess wasn't destroyed when Doomsday crashed into it. I think it was that, or maybe it's under the house, I'm not too sure. But they were having like Jonathan was sort of blowing up at Jordan in that scene as well. So obviously Jonathan's really frustrated. And I do wonder if it's a bit of like, he doesn't have the powers like his brother Jordan does, and maybe he feels like Jordan could have done something with his powers, but he sat back, and I'm not too sure exactly what it is. I'm very intrigued to see how it plays out. And technically there is also something that is in something else we'll go over in this video, which applies to Jonathan and maybe something that develops from this specific episode. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with Jonathan specifically and just the story around that. But yeah, those promo images, they're pretty, like the last one we'll look at here is just Lana and Lois sitting down sharing a cup of, I think it's a cup of tea, and just having a chat. Obviously, it'd be a big thing for Lana because she's lost her best friend, someone that she's known since she was very young, obviously, so that'll be a big thing. And I'd assume that this is also the episode that we get that like home invasion thing, you know, that was in the most recent trailer where like Lana was getting attacked by like the guy in like the ski mask or whatever it was, or the balaclava, and then like Sarah had the baseball bat. So I'd assume that that happens in this episode, but it might happen in episode 3 or 4 or something like that. That's a wait and see. But next up, well, the next thing to go over, I guess next up, is the synopsis or description for the following episode to the episode that these promo images are from, this being episode 3. And there are a few special things about this episode. Firstly, with the episode title, it is entitled Always My Hero, so make of that what you will. But this episode is written by the 2 showrunners of Todd Helbing and Brent Fletcher. You might be like, well, why is that interesting? Well, they didn't write episode 2. So that does suggest that episode 3 is probably a very important part of the season's storyline that needed them to be in control of it. But the episode is also directed by David Guintoli, who I think, or Gintoli, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but anyway, who you might remember being an actor on shows like Grimm and A Million Things. But he's also, if you're talking about like specifics and connections to the show, he is the husband of Lois Lane herself, Bitsie Tulloch. But yeah, here is a synopsis for episode 3 of Superman and Lois's final season, entitled Always My Hero. Reeling from failure, Jordan begins to spiral while Jonathan discovers newfound strength. General Lane recruits John Henry and Natalie Irons to the DoD before making a choice that will change everything. So this is an interesting synopsis for a couple of things. You might get the hint of what I was talking about before with Jonathan, but just to start off, reeling from failure, Jordan begins to spiral. So we can assume that this is based off this stuff where like he's trying to fill in Superman's shoes, whether that is something maybe where he was going after Lex that we saw in the trailer, or is the other one where he's in like the container yard and he had like the kryptonite weaponry sort of pointed at him and he was struggling. Could be a mixture of both, or just that could just be one specific situation, and that's what, you know, Jordan's failed at. So in regards to the spiraling, I don't necessarily know what that means. The only thing I can think of is that he's completely gone like off the cuff and he's just going around, he's not listening to anything that his mother's saying, that his brother's saying, or anyone that maybe like that has any sort of potential control on him or would be like a mentor to him. He's just not listening to him. He's like, I've got the powers, I've got to fill in that Superman void, and that's where he's spiraling. He's just being very reckless. That could be exactly what they're talking about here, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. The next thing they say is Jonathan discovers newfound strength. Now, obviously, the first thing you might be thinking is, wait, he actually does? Like, he's now strong? But you'd have to assume this is just, like, within himself mentally and, like, you know, like mental fortitude, stuff like that. You'd have to think that's what it is. Like, he's probably struggling since the events of episode 1 and probably through most of episode 2, which those promo images do hint at, where, you know, following his father's death and stuff like that. So maybe he finds an avenue to sort of, you know, be more, you know, beneficial throughout this situation. But, you know, it doesn't really hint at too much. That's a wait and see when the actual episode starts to air. But yeah, at least you're getting some, I guess, development from, I guess, the down or the the low point, you know, in regards to relationships and stuff like that from episode 2. And the final thing is a very interesting thing because it might explain or tease something that was shown in the trailer that we're like, okay, well, this probably is a bit later in the season, but also how does it happen? So it says that John Henry and Natalie Irons are recruited to the DoD by General Lane, but this is before making a choice that will change everything. So of course, this could just be about them personally, you know, which maybe moves them out of Smallville potentially as well. But also, I wonder if being recruited to the DoD means handing over the technology of their suits, whether it's the suits themselves or how they created the suits. Because this could be how Lex Luthor gets the information to maybe make his own, or potentially if the DoD is just in possession of the suits, he could steal it from the DoD, because of course we see him in either the same suit or a very just similarly designed suit in the most recent trailer, and he is clean shaven, which does hint that it's maybe a bit later in the season. So that could explain it, because I guess like an easy theory to go with, well, hold on, that technology was just Luthor's from the other Earth, so maybe this Earth's Luthor has the exact same thing. But they're different Earths, different technologies and stuff like that, as we can sort of get from what John Henry came over to in this, you know, to this Earth and stuff like that. It was more developed in his Earth. So maybe that didn't seem realistic. But that could be how it works out, and how Lex Luthor get in possession of the suit, or just is able to build his own because he's able to get whatever he needs from the DoD, whether it's the suit itself or just the information to make it himself. So that could explain stuff. In regards to a personal thing, as I said before, it wouldn't explain me. It wouldn't. What am I? Surprise me. That's the word. My vocabulary just went down the toilet for a second there. It wouldn't surprise me, not explain me. It wouldn't surprise me if this maybe sets up how John Henry and Natalie leave Smallville as something to do with the DoD. But once again, if that happens, that'll probably be later in the season where that gets confirmed and like, oh yeah, well, we're leaving Smallville, blah, blah, blah. And the final thing to go over is something from TV Line that came out, I think, at the beginning of this week, roughly, and it was in their Inside Line segment, and it has caused a decent amount of discussion about what it could be, but this is what was said. Anything you can give us on Superman and Lois Season 4? If I may end this column with a bang, I am hearing that the Superman and Lois series finale will do something that no previous Man of Steel themed TV series or movie has ever done before, so chew on that for the next few months. So when they say Man of Steel themed TV series or movie, I assume they mean stuff that involves the character of Clark Kent. I don't know if they also suggesting Supergirl as well. So I bet you would definitely include like Smallville and any of those other like earlier TV series, and then of course the movies, whether it is Superman with Christopher Reeve or up to, you know, Man of Steel, as like 10 years ago roughly, whenever it was. But I guess the thing is, like, you know, well, wow, firstly, it's going to be something that's never done, but what could it be? Well, some think Superman might reveal his identity to the world. Now, if this is the case and they do include Supergirl in the Man of Steel theme thing, well, that wouldn't be a case because Supergirl did that, I think, twice, you know, twice. Yeah, I know. But anyway, some people think that might be the case. Many think that it could be, like, especially because of Lex's presence and him maybe leaking it or threatening, you know, the identity of Superman, that it's Clark Kent, could be why Superman does this. But I did see some people bringing up something that feels like it is going to happen, that we haven't seen, at least from what I know, in any live action movie or series to do as of yet, that Superman and Lois could debut on screen. I'm not too sure if it's happened in animation, but definitely not in live action. And that is the simple thing of Superman versing Lex Luthor in that exo suit that we see in the trailer. So what we normally see John Henry use. But that's a big thing. That would be cool if it's Superman versus Lex in the suit, but we did see Superman fight John Henry in that suit in season 1. It just wasn't Lex Luthor. And maybe he could add some of his own tech to it and improve the suit from, you know, in regards to what we see in this season. But that is the only thing that makes me sort of like shrug at it and go, oh, okay, whatever, because we saw Superman fight that suit in season 1. And it's important to remember that John Henry was trying to kill Superman. It wasn't like they were just having a friendly tussle. Like, that was essentially what you'd expect Lex Luthor versus Superman to be. So maybe it could be something else just due to those events from season 1 being there and it not being that anything special or new, if that's what happens this season. It doesn't mean we won't see Lex in the suit fight Superman. That could easily still happen. I'd assume it still happens, but it's just not what TV Line is hinting to here. Now, I don't know if I really care for the identity reveal too much. I'm not too sure about it. But then again, we are led to believe there is a flash forward in the series finale. For how long that goes, who knows? So maybe we could see Old Man Superman, sort of like Kingdom Come style, still with his powers, just retired, living on Smallville on the farm, and just not being Superman. So he might still use his strength to lift up a tractor or to, you know, carry a lot of wood around or whatever it is, but he's not flying around down to Metropolis, over to China, down to Australia or whatever it is to save the day. And those heroic responsibilities were handed to Jordan and maybe some other powered beings on Earth. That would be cool to see. And then you'd expect, if we did see something like that, they might have like an aged up Jordan or Jonathan show up or something like that. Now, they probably could just add some white highlights to Tyler Hoechlin's hair and it'd probably be believable because, you know, the age a bit slower anyway. So that would probably work. But I think that'd actually be a really nice ending for the show, would be to show Superman, you know, older, retired, still with his powers, didn't give up his powers, but he's just not Superman anymore and he's just living the life that he probably deserves at this stage. But what do you think it could be? Let me know. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. For you to be awesome, if you could drop a like and show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions and everything we went over in this video. What do you think that surprise thing in the series finale that's never been done before could be? Let me know. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.